You know, I do a lot of shallow water fishing for walleyes, and one of my favorite presentations is rip jigging a jig with a soft bait on the back of it. I almost never use live bait and haven't for years. Now, I'll give you a few tips. I've been doing this for a lot of years. The two style of baits that really work the best for me is a boot tail, a 4-inch big bite boot tail on a VMC aspirin head jig. It's way better than a round head jig. It makes that bait, when you're snapping it, really snapping it, it rolls the bait. The bait has a different look where a ball head makes it keep going up and down. You can't get that action out of it. Day in and day out, this is my first choice, a simple 4-inch boot tail. Once in a while, I'll back it up with a little bit bigger bait and go to a standard split tail like this. I can fish faster with the split tail. It doesn't grab as much water as the boot tail does. And when I get up in shallow water, a lot of times I'll go to this style of bait and catch more fish than I will on a boot tail because it moves quicker. The bait works faster. These are the two styles, and day in and day out, 4 to 4.5-inch bodies are all you need to catch good numbers of fish and occasionally a really, really big fish. And when I'm talking about ripping or snap jigging in shallow water, most of the fishing I'm doing is from 4 to 15 feet of water with 4 to 10 feet deadly. That's the magic zone for this method of fishing. I'm using a St. Croix Legend Elite rod, 6 foot 8 inch. I love it, medium power. My choice for a reel day in and day out is the Daiwa size 20. It fills the bill. This is an amazing combination. It feels like a feather in your hand and you're rip jigging all day long. You can't believe how comfortable this combination is. You put a snap swivel up above. I usually put about 15 inches above the bait. Reason for that snap swivel is a lot of times you're casting into wind and the bait starts to get a little bit of a line twist. Just eliminates the line twist. It's that simple. And you want to make a long cast and you rip with the rod. I'm ripping. You want the bait. You got to imagine this now. You need to have that bait jump off of the bottom real fast and fall. It's got to move this way. You want to be able to move that bait 2.5 to 3 feet at a time before it crashes down. That's what's triggering these fish. You don't fish it real slow and pop as if you had live bait. That's what most people do, and they miss the effectiveness of triggering. You can pull with the boat with a long line and back of the boat 25, 30 feet away and just keep snapping. This is a triggering bite. It is absolutely deadly, and it will outfish a jig with a leech, a night crawler, or a minnow on it many, many, many times. Naturally, not always, but you'd be surprised, shocked how deadly it actually is. Now let's take a minute and talk about line. I have monofilament here. I have Suffolk's fluorocarbon here, and I have Suffolk's braid on this one. You know, when would I use each one of these different lines? I'll take the braid when I'm in heavy weeds and I got to really rip and break through out of the heavy cover weeds. I got Suffolk's 10-pound braid on here with an 8-pound Suffolk's fluorocarbon leader. That's the combination when I really am in heavy cover weeds and I got to keep ripping and ripping and ripping. Fluorocarbon, I'll use the majority of the time in sparser cover. Some weeds, I can break it off easier where I want that low visibility of fluorocarbon, even though I'm moving fast to get the strikes. And I use this probably 60% of the time. 20%, I'll go with the braid. Then another 20%, I'll go with mono. Listen up, this is mono, Suffolk's mono, and I have a fluorocarbon leader on it. There's a lot of times when I'm in areas that don't have cover. This is when I'm just pretty sparse stuff, sand, gravel, very sparse weeds. The mono, especially when I start getting in real shallow water, it kind of slows that bait down. It has some forgiveness. The other two style baits, I don't get the amount of strikes that I do on mono. Something about that mono for that bait when I'm in sparse cover up in shallow water makes all the difference in the world. That's rod, reel, blinded baits. I guarantee you get this system fine-tuned, you're going to catch way more walleyes than you ever imagined. One more tip. This presentation loses its effectiveness when you get to about 15 feet. What I mean is when you start getting deeper, you can't make that bait jump horizontally and then go down. You're forced to have to start pop jigging. The deeper you go, you start going a little more vertical and up and down. When you get to those depths, you go to a jigging wrap. And that's the key. You lose the purpose, the goals of this thing. Maximum depth 15 feet, magic depth 4 to 10 feet, baby.